So welcome everybody to the 2026 National Forum. My name is Linda Armstrong. I am the chair of the ECITB. I think we just have a couple of minutes to wait because there are still people joining, but it really is great to see such a strong attendance. So today, the team will be sharing with you the performance highlights from 2025 and our business plan for 2026, which is the first year in our new 5-year strategy, Leading Industry Learning. We're going to get an update from Assuring Competence in Engineering scheme, ACE to most of you, and you'll get an update on progress for our new entrance programme, an area I think many of you have a very keen interest. We do have some time for questions, but rather than to interrupt the flow of the presentations as we go along, we have 15 minutes at the end. So please add your questions to the Q&A area. And if you could put a thumbs up to the questions that you like, we will prioritize those and make sure that we get to the questions that you most want to hear about. But first, I wanted to share with you a little about how we've been working closely with the government. During 2025, we secured greater engagement with the UK and devolved governments and actually have continued to forge greater political engagement. For example, we were invited to give evidence at 2 select committees, and our LMI, our Labour Market Intelligence, is being used as a key data source in live debates, committee reports and national policy documents. I think that is a measure of how well we are now respected and being used as a source of information both for policy setting and for the government. So we're also working closely with NISTA to support analysis of the UK infrastructure pipeline, extremely important. We've delivered the Wind Cross Skills pilot in partnership with the Scottish Government, and we sit on the government's Construction Skills Mission Board. This raises the profile and understanding of the importance of the ECI within the corridors of power. One important change over the last 6-9 months has been that our sponsor department has changed from the Department for Education to the DWP, the Department for Work and Pensions. I think this is in response to a stronger national focus on employment outcomes and workforce development, particularly for disadvantaged groups and those furthest from the labour market. You know, both education and employment are important to us. We do sit between the two departments, and switching from one to the other, I think it now puts the emphasis on jobs. It is a good thing. We're quite pleased about this because we do have a strong track record of supporting unemployed people and putting them into rewarding careers through our Work Ready programme. And we've been delivering that for some time in collaboration with the DWP. So we're moving to more central in their programmes. So we're still waiting for the government to announce the outcome and the next steps of the review, which the Cabinet Office commenced in April 25. We understand that there'll be an announcement on this in Q1. What I can say, should any changes to the ITBs, and particularly the ECITB, be proposed, there will be a consultation exercise with all of you and industry in general prior to any decisions being made. So you will be able to have your say. Now, important that you're going to hear today, we published the new ECITB strategy last September. You know, this is an increasingly complex, fast-changing environment. Events have continued to underline this, and many of our levy payers are facing challenging headwinds against a really turbulent global economic background. That's why we decided as a board in the ICTB not to change the levy rates for the levy period 25 to 27. And of course, you will know by now that when we asked you during consensus to support us, we got 85% of the companies supporting our proposals, and that represents 98% of the industrial training levy paid. Thank you very much for that. It does feel that it's a vote for the things that we are proposing, that you are not necessarily pleased, but you are supporting the programs that we are offering. This is very important to us because it's important that you inform us of what you want from us, because the key priorities, although we try and keep closely aligned, you're the ones that are at the coal face, and you're the ones that will tell us the things that are needed most. And I do remember during the COVID that we had to change plans quickly and come up with support packages for apprenticeships that were halfway through their program. It is things like this and the agility to match the situation, the economic situation, that I think gives us our strength. And we can only do that with your help and with your direction when things change in the economic environment. So thank you all very much. I'm going to let Matt Knights tell you much more about how we will turning the strategy into action, because a strategy is great, but unless it has an action associated with it through our business plan, then it's not complete. But first, I'm going to pass you over to Andrew Hockey, our Chief Executive, who will take you more through what we've been doing and our programme for the day. Thank you all very much, and I hope you enjoy the forum.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much. And welcome, everyone. Good morning. I see we're clocking nearly 200 people, or not people, but watches on the clock on the top left here, which is really good numbers. So thank you all for coming on. I'll just reiterate Linda's point about if you do want to post questions in the Q&A here, please do that. Hit the Q&A button and post your questions, and we'll go through them at the end. 2025 was actually the final year of our 3-year strategy for 23, 24, 25. A few numbers for you. In that time, we supported over 6,500 new entrants into the engineering construction workforce. We invested £103.6 million in training, and we committed £3 million into our regional skills hub initiative, which is taking off nicely. Now in 2026, after last year's consensus round, we can embark on an exciting new chapter for the ECITB, and we can start delivering our new 5-year strategy, leading in industry learning, which is what we're here to do. Matt Knights, our Director of Regional Operations, is going to pick up from me in a couple of minutes, and he's going to share with you the 2026 business plan, which sets out clear practical priorities for the coming year. It's aligned to industry's priorities and government's objectives, but it is flexible. It retains the flexibility to respond to change. It shows you our commitment to setting annual plans that will allow us as an organisation to stay agile, but stay strongly aligned to the long-term goals of the 5-year strategy, which I'm really grateful for the support many of you showed for us through the consensus period last year. So where we want to get to, our vision is that Great Britain has a world-class engineering construction workforce that can deliver the vital infrastructure that this country needs, and also move towards powering the net zero ambitions by the time we get to 2050. But by 2030, what we want to see, the end of our latest strategy period, what we want to see is a skilled, transferable, diverse workforce underpinning engineering construction. We want to see clear pathways into rewarding careers, recognise standards of competence that support productivity. That's a really important word, productivity, because that makes a huge difference to the way we attack the skill shortages that we see in the country, and safe delivery. So our workforce intelligence, which we spend a lot of effort on, is there to inform decision making, and the work that we've done in that field plays a role in helping understand what we need to deliver the UK's infrastructure, to deliver the transition to cleaner energy, and to deliver regional growth. That's really important. The workforce intelligence that we do identifies the challenge ahead, which is significant, but there are also big opportunities for us as an industry ahead. But One thing that comes clear from all of this is that if we want to achieve the outcomes from our new strategy, we're going to need to collaborate and commit well beyond the ECITB alone. Meeting the demand for new talent is going to need us to collaborate, to innovate, and above all, to include. We're going to have to think differently about how we train and recruit and retain new talent. We need to work in partnership with others and be committed to delivering for you, the employers, for the workforce, and above all, for the UK's economic future. But before I go on to pass over to Matt and share with you the plans for the year ahead, I want to share with you the highlights from that last year of our 2023 to 2025 strategy. So Beth, if you could move on to slide 6. As you may recall, our key pillars in our 2023 to 25 strategy were foundations, growing a skilled workforce, and supporting industry through transition. And I'm not going to go through all the work streams that sit under these pillars in detail, but I do want to share with you some of the highlights that we delivered on from 2025 for you. So next slide, please, Beth, number 7. So 2025 was a pretty successful year for us, really, in expanding entry pathways into industry and in supporting high quality training provision. Linda's already mentioned in the levy consultation last year, 85% of employers representing 98% of levy income were in support of our proposals for the levy rates to be applied for the next 3 years. And we got a really resounding positive employer feedback on our 2026 to 2030 strategy consultation sessions that we carried out last summer, engaging more than 300 delegates from across the country. During last year, in addition to what we expected to raise, we raised another 375,000 in additional levy and improved the process for this to happen with the launch of the new levy app, ECITB Connect, which is hopefully making life much easier for all of you that are in scope and are making levy returns. We invested £32.6 million directly in training grants and new entrant programs, and 90% of our in-scope levy payers received grant. We saw a 13% growth in technical training last year. 71,830 learners used our products, including 28,348 CCNSG completions. So really good numbers there and steady growth there as well. And our workforce census published back at the start of 2025 from data gathered in 2024 covered 78.8% of in-scope employers. Really good response to the census. And the census and our upgraded labour forecasting tool gave us a lot of external visibility. It gets used around industry, it gets used by government. 17% of all of our 2025 ECITB media mentions were related to those two things, the census and the labour forecasting tool, which for me demonstrates that that's valuable work that we're doing there. And I know the breadth. People comment to me across industry about the breadth of exposure it gets and it gives us, and the help that it's actually giving for long-term planning. So the next slide, Beth, if you would, number 8. Yeah. The other thing we saw grow last year, and I'm delighted in this, is our learner experience portal, or LXP, our online learning tool. Last year, 28,503 unique users. That's a number that's up 23% on 2024, and more than 59,000 online course completions. What that means in hard cash is that's effectively a £2 million value add. Grants that would otherwise go directly out to employers mean that can be used for other things because the training is delivered cheaply and easily accessed through the learning experience portal. So it's a great tool. We're very, very pleased with the way that that's been developing over the last couple of years, and it will continue to grow. We expanded the skills pipeline in general through our new work ready pathways, progressing with new operative level pilots. We're also preparing a couple of cohorts this year, potentially to be delivered in the prison service for rollout in 2026 for ex-offenders to come through and be rehabilitated into the employment market that way. That's been a very successful initiative at Work Ready. We also delivered a number of regional and net zero investments, including nearly £500,000 into the Teesside Skills Hub, the education training collective up on Teesside there. It's a good example. We saw our commercial arm grow 21,415 delegates trained in 23 countries across the world, 37% increase in delivery compared to 2024. And I just remind you that any income that we bring in from that commercial arm comes back in to defray our overhead and defray our expenses back here in the UK, so that we can put more money back into industry via grant and via market intervention. Linda mentioned also that we raised our profile considerably and our reputation as a trusted authority, oral evidence to 2 parliamentary committees, and also after last year's consultation we successfully published our new strategy for 2026 to 30, moving to a 5-year strategic cycle and setting out a bold, clear programme of interventions to tackle the challenges that we see for skills in the future. Many of you have helped us in all this, collaborated with us, directly contributed to all that we've done, and I want to really thank you for the engagement that you've provided and for the support to us that you've given us in our quest to lead industry learning. We thank you very, very much. It makes all the difference having your backing, whether it's employers, providers, learners across the board. We really appreciate it. I would like now to pass on to Matt Knights, our Director of Regional Operations, and Matt's going to outline the strategy in more detail and also give you a bit more on our plans for delivery in 2026. So, as I said, I'm happy to take questions from me at the end. For now, I will hand over to Matt, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Andrew. Good morning, everyone, and great to see so many of you on this call. It's an absolutely fantastic turnout. So, as Andrew said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the strategy, but more importantly, perhaps how we're going to turn our strategic intent within this strategy into some operational delivery activities in 2026. So, the move to a 5-year strategic cycle for the organisation really reflected ECITB's determination of some long-term outcomes through significant interventions that can deliver a lasting impact across the next 5 years. Our 2026 to 2030 strategy does set out a really bold and ambitious vision. It's going to directly support the government's missions on net zero, energy security, and building skills for opportunity and growth. It will look to address many of the structural skills challenges highlighted by the ITB review, which was published in January of 2025, and we'll also look to scale up delivery of some really impactful initiatives that we've developed in recent years. That includes some of our new entrant pathways and some of our competence assurance programs, to name just a few. We've also ensured the strategy aligns with central and devolved government's priorities for skills, technical education and growth across all of the sectors that we support. Now, paramount is the need to ensure that employers have the skilled people required in the face of what is a really tight labour market, both domestically and of course internationally as well. We're really confident that the bold 5-year plan, informed by extensive consultation with employers, training providers, and a variety of other stakeholders, anyone that has a vested interest in engineering construction skills, will definitely respond to the needs of the engineering construction industry, identifying the key workforce challenges and sets out the right priorities to support industry moving forwards. And as Andrew just said, I'd also like to offer my thanks to all of the stakeholders for their engagement in the strategy consultation events that we held in April and May of last year, and of course the levy consultation that was held in October of last year. Your input was extremely invaluable, as were your insights, and a significant vote of confidence given to us through the levy consensus was a huge positive. So thanks very much for the support you've given us there. We've reinforced our commitment to regional approaches in our final strategy. This is based on the feedback that data-driven measures with place-based skills planning and delivery by local training providers was indeed the correct approach. In a similar vein, we further strengthened our commitment to partnership approaches, and this runs right through our final strategy. And I'll come on to partnership approaches in a little bit more detail when I move on to the business plan element shortly. This reflected the feedback you gave us on the need to have more cooperation throughout supply chains when addressing skills needs in areas with significant levels of anticipated demand. We heard recurring feedback about the limited capacity for mentoring with industry and this is absolutely being exacerbated by demographic challenges and project pipelines, which is identified by many as a clear reason why employers are not willing or not able to take on more apprentices or indeed other new entrants. We made a change to our final strategy to reflect all of this. Next slide, please, Beth. So on in terms of developing the strategy, we developed 3 strategic outcomes, as you'll see on the slide there, for the workforce, for industry, and for the UK. And these are very much intrinsically linked. For the workforce, it's about access to quality training and qualifications. But linked to that is clearly for industry. Industry wants to be able to train and retain an agile, diverse, and competent workforce. At the same time, the workforce also requires transferable and in-demand skills for that fulfilling career to be able to retain that career within the industry. And the industry itself wants to be able to benefit from those optimized skills to ultimately increase productivity, which Andrew referred to a little while ago. And then for the UK, ECITB LMI supporting better policy and decision making. ECI skills are powering infrastructure and the clean energy transition. ECI skills unlocking social mobility. And then lastly, ECI skills attracting investment in UK PLC and boosting regional growth. There's quite a lot here within the strategic outcomes. What we are clear on is that it is not the ECITB's sole responsibility to be delivering against all of these things, in particular for the UK. And so it's of paramount importance to ECITB that we collaborate with a whole multitude of different organisations to deliver against these strategic outcomes. Thanks, Beth. Next slide. So I'm sure many of you will have seen this slide on a few occasions. The strategy is built on 3 pillars: the deliver, grow, and transform. We'll take each one of these in turn. So the deliver pillar will continue to meet our statutory responsibilities with a clear focus on efficiency and, of course, value for money. And part of this is around effective collection of the industrial training levy. We've already taken measures in 2026 to improve that particular process. In addition, it does relate to ensuring the correct employers are on the register and that those employers are paying the correct amount of levy. And in doing so, this really starts to create a very clear and level playing field right across industry. But within this deliver pillar, it isn't just about levy. It's also around maintaining our existing suite of qualifications and technical training standards and creating new products where opportunity and demand exists and is, of course, apparent. Onto the grow pillar. In this pillar, we will consolidate, standardize, and scale our successful innovations, creating momentum and adding value. We'll look across all of our value programs. We'll absolutely seek opportunity to build upon these, creating more value for industry across the 5-year cycle. Now, a large part of this work is around our ECITB-led new entrant programs. Those are scholarship program and work ready. But it will also encompass areas of competence assurance and an expansion of our flagship online learning offering through the learner experience platform, otherwise referred to as the LXP, which I know many of our employers are accessing. And then lastly, onto the transform pillar. This is where we're looking to deliver very bold interventions, transforming skills provision and positively influence industry. Amongst other things, we'll harness the regional skills hub model, building a strategic skills system to ensure the right training is available in the correct areas of activity. In addition, we'll seek intelligent emerging technological changes linked to the energy transition, allow training interventions that allow industry to embrace the new technologies, including artificial intelligence and robotics, to name just a few. So turning to the 2026 business plan, it's important to note that the plan itself that I'm about to present doesn't capture every single area of ECITB's activity, but it does focus on the key programs that will drive strategic change. And a full copy of the business plan is now available on the strategy page of our website if you'd like to look at this in a lot more detail. Next slide, please, Beth. So again, we'll take each of the strategic pillars in turn and then talk about some of the key activities to turn that strategic intent into operational delivery throughout the first year of the strategy 2026. So starting with the foundations, really the fundamentals. The fundamentals underpin everything that we do as an organisation. These are systems and standards that underpin everything else. It's about fair levy collection, robust qualifications, strong provider relationships. If we get these things right and we create the platform for everything that follows. So we're going to be focused on 6 foundational priorities. First up, levy collection. As mentioned earlier, we'll implement a new levy collection process to deliver a fair and transparent level playing field for all of our levy payers. We've already implemented that work in 2026, and it's already a significant improvement on previous years. Next up, grant review. We will conduct a strategic review of current grant-funded programs. We want to identify high-impact, scalable initiatives aligned with the ECITB's long-term goals. Many of you will be aware, certainly the in-scope employers on the call, we've made the process for employers to submit grant claims very much easier already in 2026 via the development of our new ECITB Connect grant application, which is part of our ongoing commitment to improving the experience for employers, making the management of grant activity much more efficient and much effective for all of our users. And then qualifications review. We will review ECITB qualifications and develop replacement regulated qualifications framework in line with customer need, funding priorities, and updated training standards. Thanks, Beth. On to the next slide, thank you. On provider engagement, we're looking to streamline how providers engage with the ECITB. We want to ease access to products and standardise provider approvals, audits, and quality assurance. Very soon, in April 2026, we will launch the Creatio and ESS apps for our training products, providing smarter exam, certification, and learner management to ECITB approved training organisations. This follows the successful implementation of these for our regulated qualifications last year. It is very much in keeping with digital changes that the ECITB is making to make everything we do much more streamlined, much more efficient, and much more effective for all of the organisations that we work with, including employers and training providers. On digital certification, we will introduce digital certification to support secure, trusted, and portable recognition of skills. And on workforce intelligence, we will strengthen sector workforce intelligence by introducing enhancements to our labour forecasting tool, otherwise known as the LFT, and providing demand insights through web-based vacancy scraping activity, which will be a key activity for the Strategy and Policy Directorate throughout 2026. Next slide, please, Beth. Thanks. So on to the second pillar, growth. Growth builds on that delivery, the solid foundations, the delivery elements of the strategy. And we're looking to scale what works best. On competence assurance or connected competence, we will implement the recommendations of the Connected Competence Review. We'll also look to relaunch the ACE scheme, which Chris Mann will talk you through shortly. And together, these actions will strengthen a cohesive and holistic approach to competence assurance, skills transferability, and workforce retention. On digital learning, we're looking to expand the ECITB's Digital Learner Experience Platform, the LXP, across the network of our approved training providers. And we're looking to establish a new skills builder function within the LXP to enable employers to track employee skills throughout their career. Next slide, Beth, please. On higher education, we're looking to publish a higher education strategic engagement plan and build partnerships with key universities, enhance the impact of our graduate grant scheme, and bolster the alignment of degree provision with industry needs. Now, this was absolutely a key takeaway from the strategy consultation that were held in April and May of last year, to ensure that graduates entering industry have the required knowledge and skills that industry needs to prosper. On new entrants, we will implement review-led improvements to new entrant programs, strengthen value for money and delivery against strategic priorities, including expanding the ECITB's Work Ready programme into new settings such as the prison estate, which Andrew referred to earlier. It's a key activity for 2026, and there's a lot of activity in that space at the moment, and we're looking to deliver a programme specifically in HMP Peterborough for 12 female offenders in due course. And then lastly, the career route map, where we will develop a refreshed career progression route map, a structured framework developed to help individuals understand and navigate career paths right across the industry. Next slide, Beth, please. And then on to the last pillar, transform. Delivery and growth alone aren't enough. The sector is changing, the workforce is changing, the world is changing. Right across the engineering construction industry, we are seeing a multitude of changes. So to transform how skills provision works, we're launching some bold new interventions. First up, trainer and assessor capacity. We will continue to develop pilot initiatives to increase trainer and assessor capacity, considering how to support industry engagement with training providers. On new entrant pathways, we will develop pilot interventions to support innovative new entry pathways, guided by insights from our further education and apprenticeships data dashboard. On regional skills hubs, we will deliver the recommendations of the Regional Skills Hub Working Group to deliver long-term sustainable and strategic investment in key hotspot areas, key areas of high industrial activity. This work will be driven by labour market intelligence and will include leveraging funding from external sources and, of course, ensuring a fully networked approach to delivery of this work. Next slide, Beth. On digital skills, we will provide a structured approach to developing digital competencies in the engineering construction industry through the development of a digital skills framework and by developing e-learning modules for priority training needs. And then lastly, tech skills. We will develop and deliver a refreshed tech skills program in partnership with employers to provide flexible, modular training to upskill existing members of the workforce and to support new entrants that are entering industry. Thanks, Beth. So moving on to the devolved nation. So transformation really sets the direction, but it only matters if we get boots on the ground. And that's why we want to talk a little bit around the devolved nations, the place-based approach, if you will. So our strategy outlines that we'll tailor approaches that meet the needs of our employers in their local and sectoral markets. This will respond to the policy priorities of the devolved governments and local authorities in England, and will also involve sub-regional plans where appropriate. In 2026, priorities include regional delivery plans. Regional plans are nuanced. Clearly, different things take place and occur in different areas of the UK. So we really want to develop these regional focused plans, in particular around new entrants, which will respond to needs identified by skills supply analysis, including apprenticeships and further education enrolments and destinations by individual region. On Work Ready, as mentioned earlier, we are looking to expand Work Ready into prisons for the first time, very much opening doors to untapped talent. The Work Ready programme, as is very focused on those that are potentially long-term unemployed, those potentially coming out of allied sectors, but the untapped area is within the prison estate, and we are absolutely looking to do that in 2026. Specifically in Teesside, we are looking to support the Net Zero Teesside Skills Consortium, and a key activity amongst that work is to facilitate a trainer and assessor task and finish working group which really meets one of the key areas of the strategy. Next slide, Beth, thanks. Continuation of devolved nations, regions and sectors on equality, diversity and inclusion and attraction. We will deliver a key EDI or attraction initiative in each ECITB region, including a STEM outreach engagement activity in the central belt of Scotland, very much targeting secondary school engagement. On client contractor collaboration, we will spearhead greater client contractor collaboration on skills across all regions and encourage greater investment in new entrants ahead of project need and provide support for the at-risk workforce to transition into other sectors. And then lastly, on nuclear, we'll deliver on our commitments to support the nuclear sector skills plan and our partnership agreements that are already in place with EDF and Sizewell C, and this has to be supported by engagement with a wider group of stakeholders that are involved in the nuclear sector. Thanks, Beth. And as I said earlier, we cannot do all of these things alone. The strategy is ambitious, the business plan is ambitious, but we can't do it alone. Together, we need as many organisations and other stakeholders to work with us so that we can deliver. In 2026, we'll strengthen our skills system collaboration by continuing to collaborate with the CITB on our joint delivery plan and its focus on skills for infrastructure, bolstering trainer and assessor capacity, green skills, workforce planning and skills passport. Working with partner trade unions, including through the Council, to ensure the views of the unionised workforce inform our strategic delivery and our operational activities moving forwards. Engaging with the Department for Work and Pensions, the Office for Clean Energy Jobs and Skills England to inform policy development and support delivery. And of course, collaborating with our prescribed organisations, the Engineering Construction Industry Association and the British Chemical Engineering Contractors Association. We need to ensure the views of their members continue to be reflected in the ECITB's priorities and to ensure employer-led strategic operational delivery. The focus is very much on unlocking the potential of the UK skills system through a coordinated partnership approach across government, industry and workforce representatives. As I mentioned earlier, full version business plan is now available on our website should you require more to the website and have a look at that and download it. Many thanks for your attention. I'm more than happy to take questions or of course via the Q&A function in the chat there on the right hand side. Thanks for listening. I'm now delighted to pass over to Chris Mann. Chris is Director of Learning and Assurance at ECITB and is going to talk you through changes to our ACE scheme. Thanks, Chris. Over to you.
Thanks, Matt, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming along and listening to the National Forum. I wanted the opportunity to talk to you about ACE, and we've called it ACE reform. Some of you will be familiar with ACE, some perhaps not. So I'll give you a little bit of history to start with. ACE was developed together with the industry quite some time ago under a charter which was signed by lots of organisations, the ECIA, the ECITB, the National Joint Council, the unions, the Capital Project Clients Group, all agreed to get together and come up with a scheme which would help assure the competence of the workforce. This was in a time when lots of people didn't hold regulated qualifications. So we spent quite a bit of time going out and assessing people in the workplace. And I'm just going to read from that charter actually what it says. So the original ACE charter said, by 2010, every person working on site, onshore in England, Scotland and Wales will have achieved the appropriate qualifications based on the sector's agreed occupational standards, and that thereafter there will be a robust system in place to sustain competence and productivity levels within the sector. Obviously, a lot of things have changed since then. For a start, we aren't the only organisation that has regulated qualifications across the ECI. Apprenticeship standards are developed, which are in essence a qualification, and many of those apprenticeship standards don't include a regulated qualification within them. So there's a need for ACE to change. ACE is also now a member of the CSCS Alliance, which gives us transferability across sectors. So it enables individuals to move from one site, a civil construction site, to an engineering construction site reasonably easily with the use of their card, their site access card. But clearly things needed to change. Next slide, please, Beth. So industry now expects assurance of ongoing competence, progression and professional development across the career. Industry standards, apprenticeship reform, digital expectations have evolved, so ACE must evolve with them. So ECITB, we were always the administrators of the ACE system. We've now taken on the stewardship representing the ACE governance group, and I'll talk about the governance structure in a minute. We've changed the governance structure for ACE. But there were these key aims about how ACE needs to change. And the first one is expanding recognition to include a broader range of industry qualifications. And I briefly talked about that. But that means that the qualifications we may recognise in the future as overlapping with the national occupational standards may not fulfil all of the requirements, and there may be gaps. So we're currently mapping that. Establishing strengthened industry-led governance structures, and I'll talk a little bit more in a minute about the governance structure that we have set up for ACE. Aligning the scheme with national apprenticeships and occupational standards is really important. As I mentioned, not every national apprenticeship, certainly in England, maps to the national occupational standards. So that's a bit of an issue. It means that in some cases, people are unable to gain an ACE card even after completing an apprenticeship, which may be recognised by an employer or a site. And finally, modernising the digital system. At the moment, the ACE card is literally a plastic card with a QR code on the back. That QR code, if you scan it using the CSCS Smart Check app, it will verify the individual. But it is open to fraud because it's a fixed QR code. We need to move away from that to literally a smart card with a chip embedded in it. So we've had to think about how we change our technology and our systems. If you could move on, Beth, to the next slide, please. So in our strategy, in the ECITB strategy, there's this statement. It said, embed and optimise the role of connected competence and reform the assuring competence in engineering scheme. So we plan to do that over this strategy period. There's a lot of work to do, as I'm sure you'll understand. We're now moving from the design to the delivery phase. So we're starting to make some changes to ACE now. And the first of those changes that you'll really notice soon is that there will be a new provider for the cards. That will require people to actually apply for the cards. At the moment, because we only recognise engineering construction industry training board qualifications, we are able to do in the background in our own system. We're able to validate the existence of the card, the existence of the qualification and the existence of a CCNSG card, tie them together to an individual and issue a card in the background. If we recognise other awarding organisations' qualifications and endpoint assessments, we'll no longer be able to do that. We need a system which can API into, which literally means just connect up with other awarding organisations' systems, and we need people to apply and tell us that they hold those qualifications. So that's the first change that will become evident. And next slide, please, Beth. So I mentioned the ACE governance structure. Under the old ACE scheme, there was a single governing organisation called the ACE Industry Steering Group, which is now the governance group. So at the top of this governance structure, this isn't the world according to the ECITB. We have the ECIA, the Engineering Construction Industry Association, the National Joint Council for Engineering Construction. The unions are on that group, so it's represented by Unite the Union and GMB. We've got the Capital Projects Clients Group, and we sit on there, the ECITB sit on there. It's a rotating chair, currently held by a member of the CPCG. And they oversee the governance of the scheme. So as we change the scheme, they will agree to all of the new rules, which makes so we will know that they meet the needs of employers, the clients, and the unions. Beneath that structure, we now have a steering group, and the steering group is really in place to help us navigate the changes to the structure of ACE as we move forward. So on there, we have, again, another chair from industry. We have clients, employers, unions, and the project manager from the ECITB is sat on that group. And the main reason for those individuals on that group is often, well, they are people who specialize in competence of the workforce within an organization. So they are competence managers, people at that sort of level to help us make sure that the things we're doing meet the needs of the industry. And then below there we have we've established a set of technical groups, and the idea of these technical groups is that when we identify a qualification which maps closely to national occupational standards, we will sit down with these technical groups and try and understand what the gaps are, because there will be gaps. If we recognise qualifications, mechanical maintenance, for example, from other sectors, there will be gaps between that and the national occupational standards and our own qualifications. And what we're going to use those groups for is to sit them down and say, where do you believe the gaps are, and do you believe there's an existing solution to help us fill it? We'll do some of the work, obviously, and we'll get them to agree with it or not. And then if there isn't an existing opportunity for an individual to move from their current qualification to gain the competency or the indicators of competency they need, we will create a solution in the form of a training program. We want to link all those things together, and we want to make it accessible to people. We recognise that with a contracting workforce, with all of the projects that are going on across the nation, that people are transferring in and out of the industry all of the time. And at the moment, it's very difficult for those individuals to gain an ACE card. Next slide, please, Beth. So where are we on this project? Well, we started back in July last year with a discovery and foundations phase where we established the governance groups. We started qualification mapping. There are literally hundreds of qualifications with the titles like mechanical maintenance. So to map them individually is quite a challenge. So we developed an AI model which literally compares the words in a qualification, and it flags up the ones which appear to be close to our existing qualifications and the national occupational standards. So it enables us to create a small list. That AI also indicates to us where there are gaps, where there are obvious gaps, but it's only really showing us the words. And we've just literally started with the industry workshops where we sit down with a group of people from the industry and say, does this make sense? Is this right to you? And would you be willing as an employer, for example, to bear someone on your site who has these gaps? If not, how do we create a solution to fill them? We've only done pipe fitting so far. We are still very open to people joining those groups. At the moment, we're only focused on the key trades, the underpinning key trades. We will work through all of the trades that are part of ACE, and there is a review that we need to carry out about which trades actually need to be within ACE, because we've noticed that there are some disciplines currently covered by ACE where the take-up of the numbers are really small, 10, literally as small as that. So we need to review that. But at the moment, we're focused on pipe fitting, rigging, steel erecting, welding, mechanical trades, instrumentation and control, and plating for the time being, working through those qualifications. So if you do want to join any of those groups, the technical level, please let us know, and I'll get the project manager to get in touch with you. We do have a significant number of volunteers at the moment, but obviously their time. We had one chap literally last week who sat in Torness car park throughout the whole meeting in horrendous weather, which is fantastic. We realise that not everyone is available to attend every meeting, so that the more people we can get involved, the better, really, because that means there will always be people available for the meetings. So the phase we're at the moment, we have just awarded we've awarded the contract for the new digital card scheme, which will enable us to produce a digital card on your phone as well as a physical card. That you will get both if you get an ACE card. I can't tell you who yet because it's a public procurement process, and we literally haven't quite signed the contract, but that was a good process we went through. We will go through a transition process where we need to let everyone know, and this is the start of that, in effect, from now on, you won't get an ACE card just because you completed an ECITB qualification. You will have to apply, and that will be through the app, and we will communicate how that will happen and the timings for that shortly. And then we will move on with the other trades, mapping the other trades, and start to look at these really key things. What are the gaps between qualifications we recognise? How do we fill them? And when we talk about ongoing competence, what do we mean by that? What additional requirements, other than a qualification and a CCNSG site safety card, do we need to recognise within the system? And key to that is what are employers already doing? What are employers already including in the system? Can we include them in ACE? If there's nothing there, do we need to create something? And we have no intention of creating something just for the sake of it. It would need to be recognised by the whole industry as being important to the card. So it's quite a bit of work to do in that phase going forwards. Next slide, please, Beth. So a recap really on where we are. Digital delivery, a digital system, a public procurement exercise through open tender has happened, and we're about to award the contract. Supplier will be appointed, and we're looking at the background on the plan for moving the data, introducing the new system, etc. Then we'll go for a mobilisation and build phase for that. The digital service system and card service is targeted for spring 2026 go live. That will probably stretch into Q2, if we're honest, because it is taking a little bit longer than we thought to do the procurement. Qualification recognition, we want this structured qualification mapping and a framework established so people know which qualifications are eligible for the ACE card, and if there are additional requirements where the gaps exist. We're looking at initial priority disciplines and therefore the qualifications that underpin that. And we are validating that through industry technical groups. There is a wider qualification mapping program underway for the additional disciplines, and we will need to review whether those disciplines really need to be under the ACE card, because ACE is a site card. So do the non-site trades currently covered with an ACE, for example, design and drafting, project controls, still need to be in there? It's a question we need to ask. And the governance group has been established, steering group formed, the technical groups are established. But as I said, we would welcome new members to those technical groups, especially from people who are actually working in the trade on site, who understand what work is actually involved. So, a pipe fitter, supervisors, those sort of level are ideal for those technical groups, because you guys know what you're doing. There will be a regular meeting cadence throughout the project. There may be more than one meeting for each qualification, but we're trying to do them over Teams, so we don't require people to travel. And we also want clear escalation and decision-making routes in place when we decide these qualifications and put them in the system. And then at the bottom, other work streams, we will launch a comms and messaging campaign to get it across once we understand how you will need to apply for the new system. And there will be a lot of industry workshopping going on throughout this period. Next slide, please, Beth. So why are we doing this? What will it deliver? Well, for employers and clients, we want to create a greater confidence in workforce competence, clearer recognition of training routes, so that people understand that if they transfer into the industry, if they didn't do an apprenticeship within the industry, how do they transfer in? What additional training will they need? How will that be recorded within the scheme? For the workforce, we're hoping for improved portability. We're hoping to allow people who previously wouldn't have been eligible for an ACE card because they didn't hold an ECITB qualification to be able to apply and gain an ACE card. But at the same time, we want to ensure that the level of competence they reach is validated at the same level. Improved usability is key. We're going to add a digital card as well as a physical card. We'll continue to issue the physical card, but clearly a digital card is instantly available, which is a big advantage on the system. And then for the industry as a whole, a future-proof platform aligned to the national skills reform, and also, that aligns with the original intention of ACE, this idea of a system in place to sustain competence and productivity levels within the sector. And over time, we hope that this scheme will offer stronger assurance. So that's me done. Happy to answer questions, as Matt said in the chat. And I'm going to hand over to Adrian, who's going to talk about new entrants. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm Adrian Wookey. I'm head of new entrants training pathways and FE strategy, and I'm just going to go through what our plans are in the new entrant space for 2026. So next slide, please, Beth. One of the areas that we're going to be looking at is apprenticeships. Now, typically we have around about 1,000 to 1,200 new starts a year at various levels on apprenticeships, and we typically have around about I'd say well over 3,000 active apprentices in the system, at various stages of their journey. So we recognise the importance of apprenticeships. We also recognise the challenges, and we are aware of the fact that the system can be quite complex. Sometimes there's a lack of confidence in the quality of the pipelines that apprenticeships provide. We also are aware of the challenges with the provision of mentors in the workplace, and we're all aware of the key role in apprenticeships that mentoring plays, and it's one of the vital cogs to a successful apprenticeship journey. Apprentice retention can be a bit of an issue as well, and we know, and we have heard stories of apprentices leaving the program before they get through to endpoint assessment because they've got the tickets that they need, the qualifications they need to operate in industry. And also there's the ongoing thing about applicants, quality of applicants, access to applicants in different areas and stuff. So we know there's a lot of things that that can conspire to make taking an apprentice for an employer quite challenging. So one of the things that we're going to be very interested in 2026 is understanding more about these tensions, about these barriers and challenges that employers face when they're taking apprentices. And we'll be looking to see how we can mitigate those barriers and challenges and support our employers to take more apprentices into the workplace. And we'll need the industry feedback and input to help us build a clear picture and then enable us to implement pilot programs, solutions, initiatives to try and get more apprentices into the workforce. Okay, next slide, please, Beth. Okay, so that was what we'd call an employer-led new entrant program, and that's because the learners are employed. What I'm going to talk about now for the next few slides is what we call ECITB-led programs. And we call them ECITB-led because they're full-time learners on the program and they're not employed until they complete the program. So the first one we're going to look at is the ECITB scholarship. Many of you will have been are probably aware of the scholarship. Hopefully many of you have taken scholars into your workplace. So the scholarship program was initially brought to life back in 2020. So we're now in year 7 of delivery. We initiated the program in response to COVID. COVID really did have a massive impact on the recruitment levels. We already were facing a workforce challenge in terms of numbers. So we felt the need to do something. One of the measures we put in place was a scholarship. So that the whole premise of the scholarship is that it removes the burden of an employer having to employ the learner. We put them on a full-time program. They undertake some of the components of an apprenticeship standard or framework. They do this off the job in an approved centre. Once they've completed the program, they then take what they've gained with them either into the workforce or into an accelerated apprenticeship. So that's the basic premise. What we must be aware of, though, is even if the scholars come into the workplace with industry standard qualifications and certifications, they won't be competent. That will need to be done in the workplace as a direct hire or either through an apprenticeship. Now, typically we recruit 100 to 150 scholars across GB. We've got delivery centres in Aberdeen, in the Central Belt, in the northeast and northwest of England, in Wales, in the southwest of England, and in London. So we've got 140 that we're looking to put on programme in September. We've just completed the bulk of the procurement. The team are currently in the process of awarding contracts, pre-contract meetings, and going through the onboarding plans. We've got one more cohort that we need to evaluate and announce. So very shortly, you'll be learning about where these learners are going to be based. Typically, they are based in industrial cluster areas because there are high areas of need. Okay, so what would I say to an employer if they were asking about scholarships? Well, I would say, and I'd obviously say this because I'm responsible for the program, it's a really good value proposition for an employer. And I say that because to all intents and purposes, the volume that we put through is at level 2 or level 5 in Scotland. It's effectively a pre-apprenticeship program. So the curricula are mapped against the contents of the apprenticeship, so we can gain recognised prior learning, which will shorten the duration of the apprenticeship without diluting the quality of the applicant or the rigour of the programme. So as an employer, we encourage you to engage with the programme. We encourage you to engage with the recruitment. You can have the individuals in on work experience, and think of it as a 37-week or 74-week probation for the learner. It gives you lots and lots of time to look at the learner and determine whether they're right for your business. And if they are, then at the end of the program, you can take them into employment. You've got someone that's industrialized, you've got someone that's got relevant engineering construction skills, a little bit of experience, and someone that's motivated and understands exactly what they're walking into when they join the engineering construction industry. More importantly, you as an employer have had time to evaluate them and assure yourself that they're a good fit for your business. Okay, the other point that I would say is don't just limit your ambitions to scholarship centres that are in your area. You can access any scholarship programme in England, Scotland or Wales, and we have various disciplines in various centres. Next slide, please, Beth. Okay, so the framework is quite simple. As I said, the majority of the programmes are at level 2. That was very clearly articulated to us in consultations that we've had with the employers, that the demand sits, the volume sits at level 2. So the majority of our programs will be a one-year program, typically built around the academic year. So they would start in the September and finish the following June. Typical content will be our ECITB pre-employment program. We will put online content in through our New Entrants Online Virtual Academy, which is resident within our learner experience portal. They would have a level 2 knowledge qualification, which is optional. The main thing that we focus on them getting is a level 2 VQ in a core engineering construction discipline. At the end of that program, it is really down to the employer what they do with the scholar. You can put them into your workforce at semi-skilled level and develop them through work-based development and learning, or you can put them into an apprenticeship. Typically, we would think that up to 6 months of the apprenticeship would be saved by putting a scholar with the relevant qualifications into a same discipline apprenticeship. If they're doing a 2-year program, and we don't run a lot of 2-year programs, typically we run a 2-year design and drafting intervention in the London area. We'll be starting another one of those in September. And we've got multidisciplined technicians up in Aberdeen. They're doing a 2-year program where they get 2 ECITB vocational qualifications, either a mechanical, electrical, or mechanical and instrumentation. We will also have a electrical and instrumentation cohort starting in September. They also get a national certificate, and they get the online content. So we've got quite a broad range of options for employers. And as I said, I would really encourage you to either contact us in the New Entrants team or your regional relationship manager, who will be able to give you more details and signpost you in the right direction. Last thing I'll say about the scholarship, I alluded to, the recruitment cycle will just be starting soon. So please contact your relationship manager if you want to be actively involved in recruiting these learners onto the program. So next slide, please, Beth. Okay, so Matt's mentioned Work Ready, and I believe Andrew alluded to it as well. And this is a different type of program. So the scholarship typically targets 16 to 19-year-olds, and it's a co-funded model where we draw down, or the training provider will draw down for the scholarship from the public purse, and will gap fund and pay the learners a bursary, a weekly allowance. The Work Ready is a different proposal. Matt mentioned demographics such as NEETs, i.e. the long-term unemployed, career switchers, service leavers, ex-offenders. All of these people are the type of people that we actively engage through various means, and that could be the DWP, or it could be the National Career Service, or it could be the Career Transition Partnership, which takes people out of service life and into civilian street. It's a really, really powerful program. it's a great program for social mobility. We've got two frameworks or two pathways in the framework, which I'll quickly discuss. One is the TMO, which is basically a craft-based at level 2 or level 5 in Scotland, and the other is an industrial services pathway, which basically covers fabric maintenance activities like scaffolding, cleaning, sprayer, painter, blaster, coatings, that type of thing. Excuse me. The actual job role or profiles and titles that the individuals will be given by the employer will vary, driven by employer demand. The whole premise of the trainee maintenance operative program is that it's a really, really versatile program, and it basically allows the employer to use them in a range of activities, supporting roles on the industrial site. That could be working as a support for a single discipline team, or working through various teams supporting the crafts people. So it's an employer-led model. So we have guaranteed interviews subject to them successfully completing the program and displaying the requisite behaviours. And we need the employers on board with this program. So we really do need you to get involved with the interviews, the onboarding and the recruitment. We're basically if you like, we're the coordinator, we're the convener, and we're the glue that holds all of the stakeholders together to successfully deliver the program. And site visits and workplace trials are absolutely contingent to the success of this program. So 2026 will see a target of, at the moment, 200 learners across GB. That will rise. We're getting more and more inquiries about this program. We've currently got seven cohorts in mature planning or running. We've got some interesting programs this year. Matt alluded to the prison, HMP Peterborough. We're in mature planning for that. We're just pulling together the procurement, and we will hopefully be in delivery in the next few weeks, and we'll be delivering a welding program to 12 lady inmates. So we're really excited about that. We've also got a military into wind pilot that's running in Inverness at the moment. And that's taking 3 army technicians and putting them through a short program which uses our ECITB wind turbine training standards and other industry standard certifications. At the end of it, they will have guaranteed interviews, and we're pretty sure they've all got places already in the wind industry. So we're very excited about that. We're also about to start our first scaffolding pilot. We've been working with Scissors and NASC on that. We'll be running that in the Northwest, and that will start on March the 2nd. Again, groundbreaking for us, and we're really excited. And we've also got lots of repeater programs, and we've got a program planned on the East Coast of England. And obviously, we'll be pulling in stakeholders to support the delivery of that. Next slide, please, Beth. Okay, so the recruitment for the Work Ready program is absolutely key. I alluded to the fact that we work with various what we call people providers, so DWP, National Career Service, Job Centre, and the Career Transition Partnership. We need to make sure that it's a robust recruitment process. We need to make sure that the people understand what they're walking into. It sounds rather a glib thing to say, but it's absolutely true. They need to understand what the industry looks like. They need to understand what they can expect when they get in the industry in terms of behavioural expectations, shift patterns, working conditions. All of that stuff needs to be really drilled in. And also the employers that are partnering with us on the programme need to make sure that the people are a good fit for the programme. So we'll have information sessions. So we'll work with the DWP. We'll have outreach events. We'll do it through job fairs. And then we get into the candidate selection. And this is where the employers really kind of like need to be front and center with us. We'll recruit them, conditional offers. They'll come onto program, and then they're monitored throughout the program in terms of attitude, attendance, performance, and then ultimately that will lead to an interview. And across the program, we're looking at, it's well over 60% go into jobs at the end of it. So it is a good program. And as I said, it's great for social mobility. We've seen some real success stories. We typically run about 8 to 16 learners with another 8 on top of that, typically as a reserve. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's the framework. As you can see, the framework has been designed to ensure that we get as much consistency throughout the program as possible. Everyone will do the pre-employment program, which we'll look at in a minute. And then they go into their elective pathways. On the left, you'll see the craft routes, which we call the trainee maintenance operative. And on the right, you'll see the industrial services operative. The idea is that they'll do, they can then go back in the model once they've completed a pathway without having to do the PEP. And employers that use this know what they're getting, so they can transfer them from site to site with minimal on cost for retraining. Next slide, please. So the typical content, if you have a look on the left, we've got the site readiness program, which we call the pre-employment program, CCNSG and other site operative certifications. That's all ECITB content. And then on the right, you can see that we've got typical content in terms of the core technical thread. We would give them some form of level 2 or level 5 vocational qualification. We've just brought 2 new ECITB quals into the suite, and that's a level 2 welding and a level 2 generalist. All will use a performing engineering operations with a range of disciplines. We'll also give them MJI 1 and 10, which is talking of spools, and then a basic rigging appreciation, and it is only an appreciation of rigging, nothing more than that. So next slide, please, Beth. Okay, so that's me. I'm now going to hand back to our Chief Exec, Andrew. So thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Adrian. That was very informative, and thank you for delivering that. What I'm gonna do, we've got we've got 18 minutes actually, so I'm gonna go to the Q&A, formal Q&A that we've got here, and just put a couple of questions, pick up on a couple of questions there. Some of them are already answered in the chat, I see, but I think it's probably just worth underpinning it. So I got one from Alan Beale. Alan says, as a leadership development specialist, will there be an opportunity for external training providers to support the ECITB's strategic direction? Chris, do you want to just reiterate that from what you put in the chat? Chris Mann.
Certainly. Yeah, Alan, thanks for the question. Yeah, we always welcome opportunities to work strategically with training providers, especially in areas such as leadership. So if you have something specific which you believe we should be looking at, please do reach out to us and we can discuss it. There is an ATP forum currently planned for mid-June. I think it's the 24th of June. We're still working on the location, which will be in person, where there will be opportunity to discuss these strategic opportunities and how we could move forward to develop the opportunities that meet the industry's strategic training needs.
Thank you, Chris. That's good. And then there's a couple here for Adrian. I know you answered them in the chat, Adrian, but I think it's worth teasing them out here. So Dawn Russell has asked hi, Dawn. She's asked us a question. Which disciplines will be covered via tech skills, Adrian? And I know you've answered, but I think it's good to put it out there.
Yeah, of course. So hi, Dawn. Thanks for the question. So we'll be doing it in phases because obviously there's a lot of material development. And we've based the priority running order sort of around our LMI and through consultation with industry. So the first batch of disciplines that we'll be looking at will be pipe fitting, plating, welding, mechanical, rigging and erecting. Once we've moved through these, we will then start to move into other core disciplines. So they will be really, I think, initially the ones where we hold the national occupational standards for. So we will start to look at potentially things like project controls, design and drafting as well, and some of the other technician disciplines as we move through. So hopefully that's answered your question. What I will say is that we will, we will be engaging with the employer base because they're going to be absolutely key to the success of this. So we will be making sure through the various touch points we have, sort of working groups, etc., and industry updates, will keep people informed where we are, how we're moving forward. And once we get to the core disciplines, obviously we'll be looking for people that hold expertise in those areas. So hopefully that's answered your question, Dawn.
Thank you, Adrian. There's another quite specific one here from Trevor King, who says, who's going to lead the welding instructor role at HMP Peterborough? Typically local colleges struggle to employ such an individual, but I think we got a plan in place there, Adrian.
Yeah, we have. So thank Trevor. Really insightful question, and we have got someone. I can't really disclose much more than that because we're still going through procurement. But we've got a level 2 welding instructor that we will be bringing in to deliver the training.
Okay, thank you. Not seeing any more coming up in the Q&A at the moment. There's a couple here about sharing the slides and sharing the strategy and sharing the business plan. They will all be shared and the links are all in there. Here's something popping up now. So Andrew Warren, with nearly 700,000 UK graduates out of work and on benefits, what can we collectively do to help some of them find a path into our careers in our respective industries? One aspect might be to analyse the amount of work visas being sponsored by employers for graduate level roles and help map UK graduates to those roles instead. Thanks, Andrew. Who wants to go for that one? I can take that one if you like. Okay, Andrew. So we do actually support graduate recruitment as new entrants every year. So we do collectively work with employers to try and find a path into industry for graduates as well as craft and trade. But I think to answer your question directly, yes, we do consider how we may create clear career pathways for graduates as part of our labour market intelligence work.
I'll just build on that, Andrew, if that's
okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Andrew. Andrew Warren. Yeah, so acutely aware of that. You know, some of the work we've been involved in to date has been with BSECA, one of our prescribed organisations, working within their engineering managers forum or engineering managers group. And really the feedback there is that to what you've said, really there are a multitude of opportunities for graduates, but not necessarily the number of vacancies to support you know, those 700,000 that you've talked about there. And one of the things we are going to look at in 2026, and I referred to it earlier as part of the business plan, is looking at an HE engagement strategy. How do we effectively engage with universities that our employers are regularly taking graduates from to make sure that the knowledge, skills that they have are fit for purpose for roles within our industry. That work has only just started, and we look forward to the output of that by the end of 2026.
Thank you, Matt. I've got one popped here for Adrian from Philip Carruthers. Philip says, can you say anything further, Adrian, on tech skills refresh?
Hi, Phil. And Phil's someone that's got a lot of experience of tech skills historically. So in terms of the refresh, we're still in the early stages of the project, and I think what we really need to do is keep a clear mind and not have any or too much baggage from previous tech skills. There's some good stuff in the previous tech skills. There was some stuff that was a little bit more slippery, and there was some stuff that wasn't as good. The basic premise of the program was really strong. We're looking at it from kind of like a mixed viewpoint, Phil. So we're looking at it from what can we import in terms of core sort of objectives from the old program. How's it going to fit with where we're going with our new strategy? We've got an awful lot more stuff going on. So what we're hoping is we're going to have more of an holistic upskilling program that we can use for new entrants, we can use for apprentices, we can use for existing workers, and we can tie it all in to some of the other stuff that we're doing or planning to do with the new entrants scene. So hopefully we'll get it right. but we'll only get it right if we get the industry engagement to support us on the journey, Phil. But it's you know, we're now in 2026. We've got a lot more in terms of digital tools that we can pull in. So the focus really is on making it agile, making it user friendly, and making it deliver what we need it to deliver. And that's people that are trained up to the relevant competency level and ready to enter into a form of assessment. So hopefully that's kind of answered your question. Happy to have a chat offline, Phil, if you wish.
Okay, good one. Nice one here from Christopher Williams. Christopher, is there an opportunity for service leavers to transition over 14,000 leavers a year? A large number of my management team are service leavers. I'm going to start with Matt and allow Chris or Adrian to come in afterwards as well.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Chris, for the question. Yes, there is an opportunity for service leavers to transition into our industry. We've done a number of things in that area. Historically, we've done a military into offshore wind program a couple of years ago. Quite a small cohort, although it was very successful. That cohort have all now got jobs in the offshore wind sector. Fast forward to where we are now, there's actually a program ongoing at this moment through one of our approved training providers, Aurora Energy Services up in North Scotland, who are again taking a small cohort of service leavers through a cross-skill program. It's very focused on the wind sector. But it is it's another group of people that we need to engage with to fill the gap, to fill the skill shortage across the next 5 years. Adrian, anything to add on that?
No, Chris, I think it's it's no secret about the quality and the caliber of people that we can get through the military pipelines. And as Matt alluded to, it's something that we're looking to upscale. We're hoping that the military to wind program, we've got 3 REME, I think they're Rekimex, so they're mechanical technicians on the program at the moment, and we're hoping that is going to give us the blueprint to upscale and put more of the programs on. So it's something that we're really keen on driving, and that's, you know, I've got a vested interest in it. I'm ex-forces, so I know the caliber of people that are out there, and I know what a good fit they are for the industry.
I just add to that, as well as all these things we've talked about play into enabling service leavers to transition into the industry. Tech Skills is a modular technical training program which would allow people to fill any gaps they have between their competence and their service role. And incidentally, I'm also a service leaver, so I appreciate there are differences. I come from the Fleet Air Arm, so a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences. How do you fill those gaps? And the changes we're making to ACE, where we recognise other qualifications, and at the same time as recognising the other qualifications, we recognise the gaps and put in place training programs to fill those gaps to enable people to be competent to work on an engineering construction site. So I think it all plays, it's all connected, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. And it's not just service leavers, you know, it's people transitioning from other sectors, manufacturing, etc. It would work. We plan that it will all pull together nicely to enable transition packages to be put together.
Thank you, Chris. For Christopher Williams, he's come back, said, can we discuss offline? We're running 4 programs this year supported by Princess Anne and Combined Authority. So yeah, if you get in touch with us, Christopher, I think there's the info email in the chat there. Then by all means we'll pass it. I'll pass it to the right member of the team. By the way, you were answered there by 1 from the Army, 1 from the RAF, and 1 from the Navy, ex-servicemen. So I think that worked pretty well. So we'll do that, Christopher. Certainly pick that up with you. Okay, no more on the Q&A currently. We've still got 6 minutes, so there's a couple of things coming from the side to me here. A couple of things we might ask about. We've put in the chat how you can get in touch if you'd like to volunteer to help with the ACE committees and the ACE groups. So we'd be glad to hear from you on that. I've got a couple here. just a couple of topics perhaps to touch on. Matt, how do you think that our regional delivery plans can ensure consistent quality and support regardless of where the workforce is based? I've got one here.
Thanks, Andrew. So yeah, as I said earlier, the regional delivery plans and sub-regional plans as well are incredibly important. And what we need to make sure is that we don't develop those plans in complete isolation. And we're not. We're developing those plans in conjunction with our regional chairs. First and foremost, regional chairs are our senior level individuals from across our in-scope employer base, to make sure that those plans are fit for purpose and they're actually relevant for what is happening in those particular areas. What I'd also say is, I talked about our regional skills hub initiative earlier, which is going really well. You know, we've got 5 regional skills hubs at this moment in time in key industrial areas across the UK, but there are some blind spots at this moment in time, and we need to make sure that we've got regional skills hubs in all of those areas of high industrial activity to ensure that the training provision in those areas is of suitable capacity and capability to deliver skills for a variety of people, regardless of where they're actually based. So they should be able to go to a training centre wherever they are located to receive the necessary training and skills to allow them to prosper.
Thank you, Matt. Perhaps this one's for Adrian. What would one of our scholars bring to a business that a normal college leaver wouldn't, Adrian, do you think?
Okay, so I kind of touched on this a bit in the presentation. So if you consider that this isn't the typical student in a college on a study program, like a generic engineering program. This is an individual that has been put on a specific route, whether that's plating, pipe fitting, rigging, erecting, mechanical, electrical, or welding. They have got a focus, a clear focus. It's an employer-led program. So from day one, when they get first exposed to the opportunity, it's made very clear what the expectation is in terms of behaviour. They can speak to employers. They can learn about the industry. The employers can take them into the workplace. They can have them on a work placement for a week. They can look at that individual. They can even make them a conditional job offer subject to successful completion of the program. So we've removed a lot of on cost straight away for the employer. We've taken on all of the risk because you don't have to employ them. You can engage at the program. There's no cost to doing that. The only cost to you is half a day or a couple of hours out the office. There's no recruitment costs. And like I said, you know, it's almost like a 37-week or 74-week probationary period. You've got all of that time to look at the individuals. The industrialization piece is all about behaviors and expectations, and that's drummed into them. They have their own overalls, their own PPE, so they are all branded. They understand what they are on in terms of the program, and they understand what's expected of them, and they understand what the industry looks like. So it's quite an interesting proposition, and I do think it's a robust one.
Thanks, Adrian. One perhaps for Chris here. How will the new digital skills framework help the workforce keep pace with rapid technological change that we see on projects? You're on mute, Chris.
Yeah, sorry about. Yeah, I mean, the issue with digital skills is that it's a poorly defined thing and it changes constantly. So, you know, we are trying to make sure we stay on top of that, and the digital skills framework helps us to define what that means. You know, these emerging things which we're all aware of, like artificial intelligence, which is really important. It's really useful. It's also quite dangerous if it's not used properly. So advising people on how to use it properly. Some disciplines rather, will be affected more than others. You know, things like design and drafting and project controls, project management. You imagine AI will have a significant effect on those trades, on people using it properly. So yeah, the digital framework will help us define those things and ensure that we have training solutions to meet the needs of the industry in that way.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, I'm conscious we've reached 11:30 and our allotted time. I just want to thank everyone again for your attendance and for your questions. Really appreciate your input here. We will share the slides from today on the National Forum event page on our website. We do wish you a very good rest of the day, and thank you again for your participation this morning. And with that, I'll end the session. Happy if you want to deliver questions in via the info@ecitb.org.uk email address. You can come in that way as well, subsequent to the meeting ending. So thank you very much, all of you, and really appreciate your participation, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.